Throwaway for obvious reasons, but I, male, 18, just moved out of my parents' house yesterday, and I'm kind of freaking out about it. I don't even know if I'm looking for advice or just need to get this off my chest. I guess both. So I've been working at this grocery store since I was 16. I was actually really excited when I got the job because I thought I'd finally have my own money to save for college and maybe eventually get a car. I've always wanted to be an architect, which my parents somehow always forget whenever we talk about my future, but whatever. My dad, male, 45, and mom, female, 43, were the ones who actually pushed me to get the job in the first place. They kept saying I needed to learn responsibility and understand the value of money and all that, which fine, I get it. But then like a month after I got my first paycheck, they suddenly decided I needed to pay rent. $200 a month, which didn't seem that crazy at first, but then it kept going up. First it was $300, then $400, and eventually they were taking my entire paycheck every month, usually like $600 to $800 depending on my hours. They kept saying we were struggling financially and needed my contribution to keep the family afloat, which might make sense except we live in a pretty nice neighborhood, and both my parents work decent jobs. And somehow my sister Lillian, female, 14, still gets literally everything she wants. Like they claim we're broke but then buy new furniture, or take these weekend trips without me or my sister. Or my personal favorite, last month they said they couldn't help me with a $60 application fee for a scholarship program, but the next day bought Lillian a $700 iPad because she needed it for school. She doesn't. Her school provides Chromebooks. I think what really opened my eyes was talking to my friend Chad, male, 18, who also has a job. He pays his parents like $150 a month for rent and keeps the rest. When I told him my situation, he looked at me like I was insane. My manager Wesley at work also noticed I was always stressed about money despite working so many hours, and when I explained my situation, he told me that what my parents were doing wasn't normal. Oh, I should mention, my parents always claim they're putting some of my money into a savings account for college, but I've never seen any statements or proof or anything. When I bring it up, they get weird and change the subject. I kept telling myself maybe they really were having money problems and just didn't want to worry me with the details. I mean, they're my parents, right? They're supposed to look out for me. God, I was so stupid. So about 6 months before I turned 18, I started making a plan. I picked up extra shifts but only told my parents about my regular hours. I hid the extra money at Chad's house in this lockbox his mom let me keep there. I also kept all my tips in secret. We're not supposed to accept tips, but people give them anyway. I spent months researching apartments, way too expensive to get my own, figuring out how to get my birth certificate and social security card without them noticing, and opened a new bank account that would activate on my 18th birthday. Chad's family said I could stay with them temporarily until I figured something out. About 2 months before my birthday, I tried one last time to talk to them about it. I was super careful, just casually asking if maybe I could keep part of my next paycheck for a school trip. My dad immediately said no, saying they needed my full contribution to make ends meet, like I was being selfish for even asking. When I pointed out I'd been working for almost 2 years and had nothing to show for it, my mom got all quiet and guilt-trippy. She said they provide food and housing and everything I need. When I mentioned that none of my friends have to give their entire paychecks to their parents, my dad got super angry. He was all red in the face, saying other families don't have our expenses. Then mom quickly brought up the supposed savings account for my future. When I asked to see statements from this account, they looked at each other weird, and mom said they didn't have statements on hand. Dad changed the subject, saying I was being ungrateful. I just apologized and backed down, but inside I knew I was definitely getting out the minute I turned 18. My birthday was last Friday. They gave me a card with $50 in it, which is just wow. Like they've probably taken $15,000 plus from me over 2 years, and they give me $50. We had dinner at my grandparents' house, and my parents were bragging about how responsible I am while I just sat there counting down the hours. Yesterday morning was my chance. My parents left early to take Lillian to some weekend sports tournament about 3 hours away. As soon as they were gone, I got everything I'd been secretly preparing. My documents, my savings, about $3,200, and just the important stuff I owned. I left a note that just said, "I've moved out, I'm safe, I'll contact you when I'm ready, Jason." I turned my phone off right after sending Lillian a text explaining that I still love her and she can always reach me through email, but I needed space from our parents for reasons I'd explain when she's older. I didn't want her to worry. So now I'm at Chad's house and I honestly don't know what to feel. Part of me is terrified because I've never been on my own before. Part of me feels this crazy sense of freedom, but mostly I'm just angry that it had to come to this. They're going to be home tomorrow and find me gone, and I'm kind of dreading turning my phone back on. I think I did the right thing, but it still feels awful. I keep wondering if I'm overreacting or if I should have just stuck it out longer. But then I remember that I worked for 2 years and have nothing to show for it except $3,200 I had to hide from them. Am I crazy for doing this? Has anyone else had parents take all their money? Is this actually normal and I'm the one being dramatic? Edit. Oh my freaking God, I wasn't expecting this to blow up. Thanks for all the support. To answer some common questions, a lot of people are asking about my birth certificate and social security card. Yes, I have them. I took them from my mom's filing cabinet about a month ago when they were out. I also have my passport. I know how important those documents are. Someone asked about my job. Yes, I'm still working at the grocery store. My manager Wesley has been really supportive and even offered to help me find a better paying position at a warehouse where his friend works. For those saying I should contact CPS, I'm 18 now, so that ship has sailed. And honestly, they never physically abused me or anything. They just took advantage of me financially, which apparently isn't even illegal. The system is messed up. Several people have asked about my sister. I'm really worried about her too. She doesn't know what's been going on with my money situation. My parents have always treated her differently. She's the baby of the family and gets whatever she wants. I don't think they'll start taking her money when she gets a job because they've never made her contribute to anything. But I'm definitely going to stay in touch with her and make sure she's okay. Now for the first update. So yeah, it's been like a week since I moved out and wow, a lot has happened. First, thanks to everyone who commented on my last post. I guess I should start with Sunday evening when I finally turned my phone back on. I was staying at Chad's house and knew my parents would be getting home and finding my note. I was honestly freaking out about it and put off turning on my phone for as long as possible. Chad's mom even asked if I was okay because I kept picking up my phone and then putting it back down for like an hour. She's been really nice about everything, by the way. When I finally turned it on, my phone literally wouldn't stop buzzing for like 5 straight minutes. 26 missed calls, 43 text messages, and 8 voicemails. Most from my parents, but also from my grandparents, my aunt, even my uncle who I barely ever talked to. It was a lot. The messages from my parents went through this whole progression that was honestly kind of predictable. First it was all, "Where are you?" and "Come home right now." Then it quickly turned into, "How dare you do this to us? And we can't believe you would be so selfish." My mom sent like 8 texts about how she hadn't stopped crying and couldn't sleep. Then my dad started with the threats like, "We're going to report you as a runaway. I'm 18. And you're making your mother sick with worry," and all this guilt trip stuff. The craziest part was when they started with the bargaining. "We can discuss reducing your rent, and we can work out a better arrangement. And let's talk about this like adults. Like, now you want to treat me like an adult." After taking all my money for 2 years, it's weird because nowhere in any of the messages did they actually ask if I was okay or say they missed me or anything a normal parent would say. It was all about how I was hurting them or how I needed to come home for their sake. Actually, this reminds me of when I broke my arm when I was 10, and my dad spent the whole car ride to the hospital complaining about how expensive the medical bill would be instead of, worrying about his kid with a broken arm. I ended up just sending them both the same text. "I am 18, legally an adult, and have moved out permanently. I am safe. I will contact you when I'm ready." Then I turned off notifications for their numbers, but kept them unblocked so Lillian could still reach me if she needed to. Monday morning, I started my new job at this warehouse that Wesley, my old manager from the grocery store, helped me get. It pays $2 more per hour than the grocery store, which isn't like amazing money or anything, but definitely helps. Wesley was seriously the best about everything. He even drove me to the interview and talked me up to the hiring manager. I guess they're friends from college or something. I was thinking my parents were probably just worried about me at first. But then my dad showed up at the grocery store on Tuesday and started demanding they tell him where I was living now. Wesley texted me about it after. Apparently, my dad was yelling and everything, and Wesley had to threaten to call security to get him to leave. He kept saying they just want to talk to me and make sure I'm safe. Yeah, right. They want to make sure their paychecks are safe, more like it. I don't want to hurt my parents or anything. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little satisfied that they're finally facing consequences. Like, what did they think was going to happen? That I'd just keep giving them all my money forever? They literally left me no choice. And then they started posting all this dramatic stuff on Facebook about how I had run away and was in danger and needed to come home right away. I'm 18. I didn't run away. I moved out, like any normal 18-year-old does. My cousin texted me a screenshot of my mom's post, and it was so over the top. She made it sound like I was some troubled kid who was having a mental breakdown or something. A bunch of relatives started calling me after seeing these posts, so I had to explain the whole situation over and over. Most of them seemed understanding once I explained that my parents had been taking all my money. My Uncle Dave was like, "That doesn't sound like Howard and Cheryl." But then when I broke down exactly how much they'd taken from me, he got really quiet. But the real drama happened last Saturday, when they somehow figured out I was staying at Chad's house. I still don't know how they found out. Maybe one of our neighbors saw me there or something. So I'm just chilling in Chad's room playing Xbox, and we hear this car honking over and over in the driveway. Chad looks out the window and is like, I think your parents are here." I felt sick to my stomach when I heard that. Chad's mom went to the door. She's seriously the nicest person ever, but she didn't invite them in. I could hear my dad from upstairs, basically demanding to speak to our son right away. Chad's mom was super calm and just told them it was my choice if I wanted to talk to them or not. Then my mom started crying really loud, like so loud I could hear it from inside, saying they were worried sick about their child and all this dramatic stuff. I didn't want to cause problems for Chad's family, so I decided to go outside for a minute. Looking back, that was probably a mistake, but whatever. The second I stepped outside, my dad was like, "Get in the car, we're going home now." Not, "Are you okay?" or "We miss you," or anything a normal parent would say. Just ordering me around like I'm 5 years old. I told him super calmly that I'm an adult who moved out permanently and that I wasn't going anywhere with them. And you know what my mom says next? "What happened to the money from your last paycheck?" Not "How are you?" or "We love you," but asking about money. I literally laughed because it was so ridiculous. I pointed out how crazy it was that their first concern was about money and not whether their son was okay. My dad started claiming that all the rent money was being saved for my college fund this whole time. So I asked them to show me this savings account right then and there. They got all weird and evasive, saying that wasn't the point right now, and we needed to focus on getting you home where you belong. I told them I'd consider meeting them again when they were ready to be honest about where my money went. Then my dad started shouting about how I owed them for 18 years of raising me and how ungrateful I was being. I was done, completely done. I just turned around and went back inside without another word. Chad's mom closed the door, and they stood out there for like 10 more minutes before finally leaving. The next day, my Aunt Caroline, my mom's sister, texted me asking if we could talk. I was kind of nervous, but we ended up meeting for coffee, and she told me some stuff that made me even more sure I did the right thing by leaving. Apparently, my parents never mentioned anything to the family about saving my money for college. In fact, my mom had been bragging to Caroline a few months ago about using Jason's contribution to renovate their master bathroom, and they took a weekend trip to some casino resort using my money while telling me we were struggling financially. I did the math, and over the almost 2 years I worked, they probably took between $15,000 to $18,000 from me. Thousands of dollars that I earned that just disappeared. Money that should have been going toward my future. Aunt Caroline has been really supportive. She said she always thought it was weird how my parents treated me versus Lillian, but never realized how bad it actually was. The good news is I found an apartment with this guy Mark, who also works at the warehouse. We moved in last week. The rent isn't too bad when we split it, though I don't have much left over for savings after all my bills. It's weird paying rent that actually goes toward my housing instead of just disappearing into my parents' pockets. Lillian has been texting me a lot. She says Mom and Dad have been fighting constantly about money since I left. Apparently, she overheard them talking about taking out a loan to cover some expenses. I guess they were using my rent money to pay for stuff, and now they're screwed. I feel bad that Lillian has to deal with all that. But at the same time, this is 100% a situation of their own making. I feel guilty sometimes about leaving her there, but what else could I do? I'm not her parent, and she seems okay. They've always treated her way better than me anyway. Oh, and my grandparents, Dad's parents, called me yesterday. At first they were all, "You need to go home and work things out with your parents." But after I explained everything, how they took every penny I earned while claiming they were saving it, how they spent money on themselves and Lillian while claiming poverty, they got really quiet. By the end of the call, they seemed confused about whose side they should be on. So now I'm looking into community college options. Obviously, without the savings my parents promised they were keeping for me, my educational plans have to change. I can't afford a university right now, but maybe I can take some classes part-time while working full-time. Not ideal, but it's something. I feel proud that I'm making it on my own, but also so angry that my parents basically stole from me for years. Like, they were supposed to help set me up for success, not use me as their personal ATM. Anyway, that's where things stand right now. I'm getting by okay. My new job is good. The apartment is small, but it's mine. Well, mine and Mark's. I haven't decided when or if I'll talk to my parents again. Part of me wants to demand they pay me back, but I know that will never happen. Edit. Since so many people are asking, yes, I'm still in contact with Lillian. We text almost every day, and I've promised her that when she gets a job, I'll help her set up a bank account they can't access. A few people asked about my legal options for getting my money back. I honestly don't think there are any. From what I've researched, parents can legally charge their kids rent, and there's no law saying they have to save it or give it back. It sucks, but I think that money is just gone. Thanks for all the awards and support. It really helps knowing I'm not crazy for feeling this way. And to the person who asked, yes, I did get all my important documents, birth certificate, SS card, passport before I left. I'm not completely clueless, lol. To those suggesting I completely cut contact with my parents, I'm not ready to make that decision yet. I know they messed up badly, but they're still my parents. I'm just taking some space right now while I figure things out. Maybe we can rebuild something eventually, but it will never be the same. Someone asked about my mental health through all this. Honestly, it's been a roller coaster. Some days I feel amazing and free, other days I feel guilty and sad. I guess that's normal though. I've never done anything like this before. Now for the second update. Hey everyone. So it's been about 3 months since my last update and wow, a lot has changed. I wasn't planning on posting again, but after what happened yesterday, I just need to get this all out. So basically I've been living on my own, well, with my roommate Mark, for a few months now, and things have actually been going pretty okay. I'm still at the warehouse job, and I actually got promoted to team lead last month, which came with a small raise, like $1.50 more per hour. Not life-changing, but definitely helps. I've even started taking one business management class at the community college nearby. Ironically, it's what my dad always pushed me to study instead of architecture. Whatever. It's actually pretty interesting and might help me move up at work eventually. I've managed to save like $1,800 since moving out, which isn't amazing, but considering I'm paying all my own bills now, I'm pretty proud of it. It's weird having money that's actually mine and not immediately getting taken away, you know. Anyway, things with my parents have been difficult. After they showed up at my workplace that second time, security actually gave them a formal warning. My supervisor pulled me aside after and was like, "Do we need to talk about this?" Which was super embarrassing, but he was actually really understanding when I explained the situation. I finally agreed to meet them at this coffee shop about a month ago, but only with my Aunt Caroline there too. I didn't trust them not to make a scene or try to manipulate me if we were alone. My mom started crying the second she saw me, which I thought was because she actually missed me or something. Yeah, I'm an idiot. But it became pretty clear pretty fast what they were really after. They brought this folder they claimed had statements from my savings account, but when I asked to actually see them, they got all weird and defensive. After like 20 minutes of back and forth, they finally admitted there had never been an actual account. They had this spreadsheet where they supposedly tracked my contributions, but the total was like $8,000, which is way less than what I actually earned. When I pointed this out, my dad got all defensive, saying they had expenses related to raising me that offset some of the amounts. Like, the whole meeting just went downhill from there. My dad kept saying they were having temporary financial difficulties and asked if I could resume giving them money just until they get back on their feet. I literally laughed out loud. Like, are you serious right now? After taking 15K plus from me, my dad stormed out after I refused, and my mom followed him after trying one more guilt trip about how I was abandoning my family in their time of need. Aunt Caroline just sat there with this look on her face like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Oh, and get this. Lillian told me our parents have started talking about her getting a job when she turns 16 next year. She's worried they're going to take her money too, you think? I helped her open a secret bank account with Aunt Caroline as a co-signer so they can't touch anything she earns. I've completely moved on emotionally from all this mess. Okay, that's a total lie. I'm obviously still processing a ton of anger and hurt, but whatever. But I've been hearing from extended family that my parents are having serious money problems. That renovation they started using my money. Yeah, it's sitting half finished because they ran out of funds. Apparently they've missed 2 mortgage payments and are at risk of foreclosure. And my dad has been drinking more heavily and lost his job after showing up drunk to some important client meeting. So last week, my mom called me crying. She does that a lot, saying they were 3 days from foreclosure and desperately needed $3,000 for back payments. She literally asked if I could loan them the money from the savings I must have accumulated since moving out. The audacity. Like I'm supposed to have thousands in savings after 4 months of living completely on my own when they took all my money for 2 years. I had such mixed feelings. Part of me was like, karma's a bitch, and wanted to hang up. Part of me was worried about Lillian losing her home. And honestly, a tiny part of me, that I'm not proud of, felt satisfied seeing them face consequences. So yesterday morning I went to their house with Aunt Caroline for support. The place looked awful. Grass was uncut, the renovation was obviously abandoned halfway through, just looked neglected. My mom answered the door looking super stressed, and literally the first thing she said was, "Did you bring the money?" Not, "How are you?" or "Thanks for coming," or anything a normal mother would say to the son she hasn't seen in weeks. My dad was just sitting silently at the kitchen table, wouldn't even look at me. I didn't bring cash. Instead, I put this folder on the table. My dad was like, "What the hell is this?" His voice was slurring a little at like 10 a.m. Great. So I explained that it contained a contract that I had drawn up with help from Caroline's lawyer friend. Basically, I offered to loan them exactly $15,000, which is roughly the amount they took from me over those 2 years. The terms included monthly repayments with interest, with the catch that all the repayments would go directly to an account for Lillian as the beneficiary. The contract also required them to have complete financial transparency and budget counseling, and stipulated they could never take any of Lillian's future earnings. My dad lost it, like full-on rage mode, called my terms insulting and accused me of twisting the knife when they were vulnerable. He kept saying I was their son and should just help out family without all these legal games. My mom was more practical though. You could see her thinking about it and realizing this solved their immediate crisis. I just stayed super calm and said these were my terms, non-negotiable. Take it or leave it. My dad knocked over his chair, storming upstairs. My mom hesitated for like a full minute, then signed the contract. I wrote a check for the first installment, $3,000, to prevent the immediate foreclosure. Here's the part that really got to her though. I mentioned that the money was coming from savings I had accumulated while still living at home. Her face just fell. She realized I had been hiding money from them for years, while they thought they had complete control over my finances. I told her the remainder would be transferred once they met with the financial counselor I'd arranged. She didn't argue. I still have so many conflicted feelings about all this. Like, they're my parents and watching them struggle isn't exactly fun. But at the same time, they stole from me for years while lying to my face about saving it for my future. I'm not some heartless monster. I don't want them to lose their house or anything. But I also refuse to just hand over more money without accountability. By arranging for the repayments to go to Lillian's account, I feel like I'm doing something constructive instead of just being bitter. That money was supposed to be for my education, but since that ship has sailed, at least it can help her. Dad still refuses to speak to me directly. Mom has actually been complying with the financial counseling requirement and made the first payment on time, so that's something, I guess. I don't know if we'll ever fully reconcile, but at least this way, Lillian's home is safe and her future earnings will be protected. Thanksgiving is coming up, and it's going to be so awkward. I'm planning to just stop by briefly to see Lillian and the relatives who've been supportive, like Aunt Caroline. Definitely not staying long. Thanks for reading all this.